Hi, I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. Today we're going to look at the Bulldog Target. Now, one of my customers said to me, I'd love it if you could get these Bulldog targets in. Now, one of the problems, these targets are made in Canada, and one of the problems of getting these targets in is you need to import them. Now, if you fly these targets in, they weigh a fair bit. So this is about 60 centimeters across here, 60 by here, probably about 25 centimeters wide, but it bulges in the center a little bit. It's like a big pillow. It's like a sort of punching bag, if you kind of know what I mean. It feels like it's got springs in it, so if you punch it, it's kind of very firm. It's not filled with filling like a normal bag target. It's got a wood core around the outside. I'm going to guess this weighs, it's not particularly light. It's a pretty heavy target. Okay, that's my workout for the day. Now, Bulldog give you a lifetime warranty on these targets, and the way this target's made, it's made with layers of like this kind of material, and the lifetime warranty is not with the shop, so you can't go back to the shop. You've got to go back to Bulldog to get the things, to get the fabric, because they say this target will last forever. Now, one of my customers did not shoot through this target, but he contacted them about what it would cost to get the materials from Bulldog for the target. So they said, well, the materials are free, but the postage was about $200 to Australia for the frames that are inside this. And he's like, well, I might as well buy a new target. Now, if you were to fly these out from Canada, you'd allow about 30 kilos, 35 kilos, minimum of $10 a kilo, so probably about $400 worth of freight to get one of these targets from Canada. Now, there's a couple of different types of targets on the market. One's a foam target, like those. Now, foam has got an advantage. It gives you a nice flat face. They will wear out. They're very hard to pull your arrows out of the target. You literally do more, you hurt your shoulder more pulling the arrows out than actually shooting the shot with a foam target. But this is what you're going to shoot at an archery club. Now, you've got bag target. Now, this is one of my old Morel Yellow Jacket targets here. Now, these things are really good. The problem is you tend to blow out the center of it. Now, the target's years old. You tend to blow out the center like that, and it tends to sort of concave in the center. And the arrows, when you hit, they kind of drop down because it's like a material inside, like a air conditioner filter material is what it looks like inside. And when you shoot, the arrow drops. Easy to pull your arrows out, so you can shoot 12 arrows and pull them out with one hand, right? But the problem is the arrows are basically, they struggle to go in because they're, like I said, really easy to get out, but they sort of drop. So when you're shooting, there's an arrow sort of drop down, and you tend to shoot that arrow and then bust the arrow. But the fabric targets are affordable. Now, with a Bulldog target, it's actually single layers, like strips of material in here. Very different design. Now, I shot these in Vegas, or one of the ATA shows, and I love them. But my problem was importing them into Australia, but I've got them in Australia. So now what we want to do is we want to test it. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire a whole bunch of arrows into this target and see how easy they are to pull out, see how they stick in the target, and let's see how it shoots. Okay, so we're back here 18 meters. I'm shooting my Supra. Let's say they go in the middle. Now, with skinnier arrows, I'm shooting VAPs. These will penetrate more than a thicker arrow. So this is a pretty good indication of sort of what arrows would feel like in the target. So let's sort of just shoot some arrows. Now, with these targets, wider, you know, what do you choose? Do you choose a foam target? Do you choose a bag? Bags are going to be cheaper. That's, you know, foam is good, but you will blast it out. It doesn't even matter if you go for the layered foam. Eventually, you're going to blast that thing out. This should be the easiest of all targets. I'm struggling to see. I've got a black dot on my scope. and the target's got a black dot in it, so I'm just aiming a different target this time. So when you buy a target, so I used to sell a foam target before, and I had from American Targets, really good target, foam target. I think I sold it for about $80 retail, a foam target, a block, and it was a good target from America, and it came with, I think, a year warranty. Anyway, the customer shot broadheads at it and shot this one physical spot in the target and goes, well, this target's stuffed. I want my money back. Now the problem was it was about $40 postage to get the target to him, and he's just shot the one spot and just basically rammed broadheads into it and field points until it just shot through in one spot. So I stopped importing those targets because I'm like, well, I can't be losing money like this. And they were good targets and they were very affordable. So when sort of companies offer lifetime warranty on targets, I'm like, you're kind of beating a rod for your own back, I think. There's a certain life expectancy you expect with a target or anything you buy, and the question is it reasonable? Like if this target sells for about 200, there's a smaller version called the Pug, but I think this one sells for about 200 Australian dollars. I think that's pretty good. To shoot an archery club costs you $10 a time, so if you get 20 sessions out of this target, and I'm pretty sure you will, then you're kind of done. Now, I know I've sold quite a few of these targets, and I know people have had them for months and months and no one has said they've had a pass through. They've said they've been good, so in fact, with targets, it's the biggest complaint I get from customers, that, you know, they get passed for throughs or they're not happy with them beforehand. So generally what I do is I kind of say to people, well, look, you know, you shoot them all around, it's the way it is. But anyway, let's have a look at this target. So I'm up here at the target. Now, the first thing I want to notice is there's no points out the back of this target at all. So these arrows have not, I'm going to pull one out. They are very easy to pull out. Now, the bag target is easier to pull out, but there's literally no force required. And what I'm liking about these targets, you can see how much they've sort of stuck in. So they've stuck in, so there's this much in the target already. Now what I like about with the bag target, when you shoot it, it kind of sticks in about that far and the arrow drops down. Look, it holds the arrows really, really nice. And I'm not gonna bust my shoulder pulling out arrows out of the target. Now when you look at targets, I'll go back on this Bulldog. Look, I sell the targets like the big foam one behind me. I sell the centers for it. Now depending which company you go for, that's a Fastgo behind me. The centers sell for about $45 each. Look, that target there has been up for about a year now, but it is hard to pull my arrows out of. You can see, you know, you kind of need to soften it up a bit. There's another company called 11 who's got a nice, really soft core, but the cores sell for around $100 each. Now, the core will deteriorate over time, so how long are you going to get out of it? They are very easy to pull out of an 11 core. So, but you will break it up, and once again I go to that, what do you think is reasonable? So I had an 11 core in my shop, and I had a customer who comes in every day and he'd blow away a core in a day, and so I was charging $5 to shoot and he was blowing a $100 core. So I was like, oh, this is not, the mass is not adding up for me. So So for me, it was a problem with the 11 cores. Nice to shoot at and pretty good for a target club because you generally don't shoot that same spot and you're not shooting big fat arrows, because if you're shooting skinny arrows like these, you're doing a lot less damage to the target than a big fat arrow, which is unlike one of the archery clubs here. View on what creates more damage, a skinny arrow or a fat arrow. One of the target clubs here only allow you to shoot fat arrows at their indoor targets, and I'm like, why would you do that? An arrow which is that big is going to create a lot more damage than little arrows coming through. But that's their view. So anyway, look, this to me is really nice. It's got a fair bit of weight, so it's not going to fall over. The bag target, the problem I have with this one is you've kind of got to stick it up somewhere. It's not a flat face. You tend to, when you're shooting target faces, it doesn't sit nicely. It doesn't stand up. You've got to lean it against something, and if the arrow, once you start shooting, you'll actually shoot through the target, and then if you've got something behind it, you're going to hit it. I use that target now behind the foam target, so when I get pass-throughs, it hits the bag target and that saves it. Now that target you can get replacement centers, replacement bags for. They sell for probably around $100, $120. Look, this sells for about 200 bucks, ballpark. There's a smaller one I think sells for 170. I think that's pretty good value in Australia for a target. Like I said, there's a cost with freighting these things in. Now, the cost to freight stuff into Australia is going through the roof. So when I brought these in, like a container used to cost me $5,000. My latest quote was latest quote was $17,000 for that same container to come in. So, I mean, that's going to put the cost up, but let's say we've got built in $30 freight, so that's then going to put it to $90 freight, so you could see these targets go up by 60 bucks. But look, they're pretty good, and if you can get your hands on one, now don't shoot broadheads. They're not for broadheads. If you shoot broadheads, you're going to stuff these things because you're just going to cut all the fiber up. If you want to shoot broadheads, you've got to use a foam target. You can't use the bag target. It's got to be foam, and you are going to still chop up the foam if you're shooting broadheads into it. But the Bulldog target, look, when I brought this in and when the customer asked me about them, I was like, the problem I've got is freighting these things in. I think these are the best target I've ever shot at. I do like the 11 cores. They are very soft, but they do kind of break up a little bit after you've been shooting them for a while. Like I said, they're pretty good in the club scene because you're not hitting that one same spot all the time. But these targets for home use are really, really good. They're so good, I'm thinking this is the target I should be shooting at home. Even though I've got this one behind me, and I've got down below here, I've got an EVA foam, which costs about $80 for a piece, and it's got one on the back, so it's about $160. The one up the top is about $400 and $440. Look, they're still hard to pull your arrows out. I'm talking myself into buying one of these for myself. And the reason I'm talking myself into it is it hurts my shoulder here to shoot. So, and I think this is actually from pulling the arrows out of the target. So I'm thinking, well, I need to shoot more. I don't want to hurt this shoulder from shooting, and I think it's actually pulling the arrows which is hurting my shoulder. So I'm thinking this is a solution for me. So I'm thinking I'll shoot this for a while and sort of see how it goes. Like I said, I've been selling them for about 7 months and no one's complained. No one said they've had a pass through yet. And the company does have a lifetime warranty, but you've got to read the fine print of what that lifetime warranty is. You can buy replacements, but the freight to Australia is expensive. It's probably pretty good in America if you live in America. Check them out. These are really popular at the ATA show for people to shoot at because they're easy to pull your arrows out. It's almost rare to see foam targets at the ATA show. A lot of the companies use bags or these. These are like super popular. So Bulldog targets that come out of Canada, really good. There's a bit of weight in it, so to freight it around Australia is not cheap. Like I said, you're probably up for about 30-40 kilos of freight to move this target around. So in Australia to a capital city, that's going to be about $40. So add $40 to the price of the target, $240. I still think it's pretty good value. That's the Bulldog targets. Check them out now at your local archery shop. Thanks for watching. Bye.